One of God's principles is the principle of sowing and reaping. Whatever you sow, that shall a man also reap. If you're sowing corrupt seed, you're going to reap corruption. If you're sowing discord, you're going to reap chaos. If you sow sin, you're going to reap death. But also when we sow good things, we reap good things. When we begin to be a blessing to others, God blesses us. In this principle of sowing and reaping, the Bible tells us that because what we sow, we also reap. You can look at a tree and you can look at the fruit on the tree and see whether that tree is good or whether that seed is corrupt. This is one of God's ways in which we can determine people, the character of people, but also that we can be blessed in our own lives. As he said in his word, that we can be like a tree that is planted by the rivers of water, bringing forth his fruit in his season, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper, and his tree also shall not wither. That's what happens when we sow into good ground. Keep on sowing into good ground. I know sometimes it can seem as though it's taking a long time for that thing to bear fruit. Sometimes it can feel like you're planting and you're not seeing anything, and it can bring and yield frustration in your life. But I'm here to encourage you today to keep on sowing, because God is saying that it will indeed bring forth fruit in its season. In its season, you have to wait for that. I've talked about this before, that sometimes we look how we think A and B is going to take us to C, or that 1 and 2 is going to equal 3, but that's not really God's math. God's math can be exponential. God's math can not make sense. God's math can take longer time. God's math can take shorter time. God just does things in his own way. You're going to reap in your own season, in due season, if you don't faint. That is the key right there. And I had a situation in my life where I was feeling as though I was toiling and not seeing the results. But all of a sudden, I began to reap a harvest, and it was more than what I ever could have expected, and it overwhelmed my heart. And it wasn't material. It was something that I had been praying about to take place in my family. And so I just want to encourage you to keep on sowing, because if you just don't give up in due season, you are going to reap if you don't faint. There are times when tests are put before us, and our passing them or failing them is what will keep us in the same position or allow us to move forward. It kind of reminds me of the saying that there's some of the smallest doors lead to the biggest opportunities. Because you are in this small room and with this small door, you would never think that my greatest opportunity would be on the other side of success in this room. When the door opens in this room, it'll lead me to a place that is so much larger. What people oftentimes think is that if I can be in a large room, on a large platform, I can get larger opportunities. But that is not necessarily how God works. He expects you to win the small battles first, and then you're going to be able to get the greater opportunities. God always asks us to be faithful over the small first, and then we'll become ruler over much. David's victory over the lion and the bear are what allowed for the big win in front of everybody with Goliath. This is the principle that I'm telling you about. This is the principle of not despising the day of the small, not despising the day of the small beginnings. I don't know what it is in your life that you feel like is small. I don't know what it is that you're walking over that you can't see it for what it is. Hallelujah. There's something that you are not doing, and God is saying, I can't take you here until you get this right. I can't bless you until I can see you conquer this thing. Until I see you work with integrity in this level, then I can't give you this level that you seek, because God doesn't work like that. The devil works like that, like I've talked about in my manifestation video, but God doesn't work like that. God uses his principles in order to bless us. And we have to master the small things to be able to get the greater opportunities. So let's take inventory of our lives. Let's look at our lives and see what are some areas that I need to work on here, that I need to master here, that will allow me to be blessed over here. Because I'm telling you, what you master here is going to allow for a blessing over there. There's a saying that we say in our home, and that is, how you do one thing is how you do everything. This is something that we say all the time. Like, how I treat one thing is how I do everything. It's a principle of character. It's that principle of walking in integrity, whether everybody's looking or whether they're not looking at all, whether I'm on the stage or whether I'm in my house, the way I treat my children versus the way I treat people, the way that I keep my house versus the way that I keep my business. And even deeper than that, the habits that I develop. God can trust you when he sees how you are when no one is looking. It's the principle of being able to be a person of integrity at all times. And I found that to be true in my life. When I become faithful over making my bed in the morning, right? I become a person of excellence when it comes to washing all the dishes and keeping the laundry and keeping this and keeping that. Then I'm developing a discipline in myself. I'm developing a standard in myself. I'm developing a standard of excellence in my life. And it is just how I become an excellent person, period. Like Daniel was just an excellent person, period. Daniel's excellence in all things, in everything, is what opened doors of opportunity for him. And so we have to make sure that we are sowing the right seeds in our life. Make sure that we are doing the right things and handling the things that God has put before us with the level of integrity and intentionality that God would have us to do it. And when we do this, we are going to reap an abundant harvest. That's the thing about God. You give one thing and God blesses you exponentially. He said, if you give, it will be given back unto you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Okay, that means in abundance. That means an overflow. That means more than what I sowed. That means more than what I gave. That means that I'm going to be reaping where I have not sown and gathering where I have not strawed. Oh, hallelujah. I don't know about you, but that's the kind of blessing that I need in my life. That's the favor of God that I need in my life. But it requires me operating in a degree of excellence in everything that I do. It starts at home. It starts in private. It starts in the relationships that are around us. It starts in us being a blessing to the people who are next door to us. It starts with us being a gift to the people who are in our home. How we do one thing determines how we do everything. And that is what God is looking at. Okay, I'm done. God bless you and have a wonderful day.